Welcome to another great video. I win the lottery, my neighbor goes bankrupt. What? That's a
What?
little surprising. That's
That
not
doesn't
the
work?
goal, but it was a very interesting study that came out, or at least I found it recently, and that's what
Yep.
we're going to dive into. It all has to do with our relationship on money, which is rarely ever fixed.
Yep.
It evolves with life stages as we go from being in our 30s to 40s into the retirement years in the 60s. It evolves with our goals, and perhaps most powerfully, what this study gets into, our relationship with money changes with our expectations. Sometimes those expectations, they're
That's right.
inwards. We're looking at our goals, looking at our
Here.
values. Often it's outwards, looking at our neighbor, looking at the social media influencer, the coworker, and that's really what this study is all about. Why don't you tell us about the study?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is a study involving a Canadian lottery winner recently caught the attention of us while we were taking a look at things. And from the study, it's a 2018 study from the Philadelphia Fed estimating the data of Canadian lottery winners. And one of the key highlights of this whole thing is that when one person wins the lottery, their neighbors on average tend to have a higher risk of going bankrupt than other places. And again, that's one thing. Why are the neighbors more likely? You could get a variety of different reasons. Well, if the neighbor won and you want to keep up with the Joneses sort of scenario, maybe you're increasing your spending because they have the money. You're increasing your speculative investing. Why? Maybe you can hit it big and that way you don't have to worry about competing with them.
Yeah.
And again, the other factor is if you're competing and you don't have the money, well, you're probably increasing your borrowing costs to be able to keep up with them as well. So as we see, this is something that really can happen because what you're doing is looking outward towards what the Joneses have. And that's where you see it, whether it's on social media or anywhere else. We want to be there. We're going to make a way to have this happen, whether we can afford to do it or not.
Yeah, and that's really the key takeaway here from this study. It was a little bit of a shocking result for me. You often
Yep.
hear stories of a lotto winner eventually goes bankrupt because they don't know how to handle money. That was not the result here. It was the people around them that went bankrupt. The neighbors, because the neighbors said, "Hey, look at that guy's driving a Corvette. Well, he's not better than me. I could get a Corvette
I should
too."
get one too.
And if they got a windfall, well, maybe I'll get a windfall too. I'll just start gambling more speculative behavior. And of course, they don't have the money for that. So they're
Nope.
borrowing more to fund all of this. And lo and behold, that increases the probability of bankruptcy. So the lotto winner, neighbors go bankrupt. A little bit of a different story here. We'll get into a little more nuance, but first, if people have questions, how do they get answers?
You go to chatwithclintonandkevin.com, whether it's on something with keeping up with your neighbors or you have any other financial questions, we're here to help whenever you can get that question out to us.
Perfect. And then comparing to your neighbors, we kind of bring this into a different study, a different book I recently read. And the whole idea is this study is an extreme example,
Yes.
but it's looking at the powerful comparisons, those expectations, especially when they're focused outwards.
As
A
opposed
lot,
to inside.
correct. A lot of data says when you start looking towards your own values, your own goals, and then you make benchmarks and expectations based on that, comparing it to yourself as opposed to what your neighbor has, well, lo and behold, you're far more happy looking inward than you are looking outward.
Yeah, so I mean that's the biggest thing. Don't compare yourself to your neighbor. You got to start looking at what are your goals. We've always mentioned that it's an individualized sort of scenario. That's what you want to do. So again, there's a study out there, or should I say, there's a book, The Comparison, the Thief of Joy. I mean, in this book, The Soul of Wealth by David Crosby, there's a chapter dedicated exactly to that scenario of comparisons and keeping up with the Joneses and how that's going to work against what really should be the happiness factors that you want to deal with. I mean, looking at goals of growth, community, giving, health, experiencing higher levels of well-being. Those are all things that are internal. Those are all things that will make you happier. Whereas the ones that are going to make you more quote unquote Jonesy are the things along the lines of, well, what's your wealth name? Or how famous are you? What kind of beauty factors do you have? Those tend to not make you quite as happy, even though those are the ones that people see mostly.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. Daniel Crosby wrote the book Soul of Wealth, pardon me. In that chapter, they actually had a meta-analysis of 92 different studies, and these are the results. Those inward goals make people happier. Those outward comparisons, the ones you just mentioned, like what does your neighbor have and how do you keep up with them, tend to make people unhappy. And in the case of the first study, make people bankrupt.
Yep.
And we'll get into a few takeaways here and pull all of this back to financial planning, what you can do about it. But first, if you like videos like this, we also have a newsletter, pass along weekly financial tips. If you'd like to sign up, there is a link right there in the description. And some of the considerations here has to do with the fact that a financial plan is designed to force you to look inwards.
Yes.
Rarely is a financial plan based on how much money your neighbor has. It's based solely on your goals and your unique situation.
Yeah, when we come up and we ask a person, well, what do we want to do when we make your financial plan? We're not asking, what does your neighbor have so that we can base your goals on his. It is all about you. It's always individualized. It's all about your goals, what you need to deal with. And that's where you have to look. Don't look at what everybody else is doing. You have to look at what's your situation, what's best for you going forward, and how can you be able to deal with these sort of factors.
Yeah, and if you like this video, is one on the screen right now, asking about how much money do you need to be happy. We dive into some data to help answer that question. Click on that one. We'll see you again very soon.
Take care.